Okay.
Discernment.
Ask yourself,
is this going to be a blessing? Or is this preoccupation with
something that holds your attention, but it's not likely to be a blessing? Then you should put it far from you. If God keeps pressing you with it, well, that's different. You think, I wonder what God is teaching me here. Why am I having to listen to this sort of thing again? I seem to have tried to avoid it, but not really succeeded. I mean, it may be that it's so that you have a loathing for it, that you do know enough about evil to know there's no way you want to go further into it for eternity. Good. It's achieved a good job then, isn't it? But don't assume that you've got to dress yourself with every evil in order to find out how bad it is. That's nonsense. We don't wish to be overcome by evil. I seek the company of angels, the host of heaven. Might be a bit thin on the ground here, and I accept that's for a reason. But I'm not meant to pursue it. I'm meant to come to the conclusion, whoa, this is definitely not the way. So I don't indulge in occupations that contrast good and evil. I indulge in that which is good and lovely. I mean, fine company if it's there. Fine seclusion if that is what's blessing me. And typically it's not, although I've spent an enormous amount of time, as you can imagine, doing these recordings. But I've found it an incredible blessing. I mean, to me, narrowly, apart from what I hope as regards a blessing to others. And it may be used as such, it may not. It depends what God does with it. As you can see, I'm scarcely marketing it. I just would like it to be there as a resource for those whom God might lead to it. And as I say, it's been a tremendous blessing to me simply producing it, because it's kept my mind on whatsoever is good and lovely. Of course, in the course of that, I've addressed to recognizing what is not good and lovely, and wanting to arm us against being pulled down by such. And a major way of doing so is simply to avoid. Once you recognize what is not acceptable to you, not in your values, well, you keep them at a distance. You don't have to keep reviewing it. If the lesson's not fully learnt, well, God will present something that is the right lesson to remedy such. In the fullness of time, you don't have to track it down. And when I record, I don't track down evil specifically as a goal. and think what the remedy is. I pursue good, and certain evils cross my mind that perhaps one should guard against in the pursuit of this good. And so address the issue, and ideally God guides me into what the best remedy is. And sometimes I'm puzzled for over a period of days before I really feel happy that that issue is now dealt with and I can move on. And I might check, as I typically do at such points, on one of the earlier recordings I've made that I haven't published, and see if it's worth publishing. And sometimes it's not. Or at least I'm cautious. I've moved on from when I produced that recording, say 4 years ago or something, or whatever. And so I might just shelve it. I might modify it. I wouldn't quite say edit it, but think it's worth preserving and even publishing, but with certain caveats, certain reservations stated. And well, of course, I don't quite think this now because of so-and-so, or this isn't quite the way I think I would want to present it now, but rather, I've moved on. It's not worthless. It could be a value in itself, and will speak to anyone who's at that level, at that stage. But of course may need to go on to the next step now, as I see it at this moment. But of course I see it in relationship to my current experience and past historicity as I can recall it. And it may not be very valuable to the person who's listening to it. In which case, thank goodness, they won't have to be bored to tears. They can flick over to something else. They're not trapped in some meeting situation where it's really not done to walk out halfway through. But that's the great thing about the internet, isn't it? You can just, oh, no, this is not quite my cup of tea. Oh, surely there's something better. I'll look at such and such. And you just flick out. You're not hurting anyone's feelings. You're not breaking any social norms. You're just surfing the net. But you're surfing the net from the point of view of godliness. Wow. Now you may think, oh, the net's utterly evil. I mean, you're not going to find godliness anywhere on it. I don't think that's true. And perhaps all of us can make that not true. We can put things on the web that are a blessing, purpose to be a blessing. And I might point out, I think that most people put most things on the net because they see it as a blessing. This is what they think is true, and others should hear it. Not be deluded, and you're bringing truth. I think this is right, and therefore I put this on the net. Well, it's wonderful. It doesn't mean it's necessarily right, of course. In fact, it might be right for some people and not right for many others. Yeah, that's true. But it's a fantastic smorgasbord to choose from, and even to contribute to. Well, how lovely. There are ways of using this to good. It'd be a blessing. Thank you, Dad. Yeah, first minute of this recording, on hearing it again, I'm thinking the Jesus words again. If you're going to pray, do it in private, in your closet alone. Not in the streets, not in public. He didn't hold worship services. Did you notice that? I'm sure it escapes the average, all Christians, that Jesus did not attend a worship service. Oh, and apparently he's supposed to have stood up in the synagogue and read the scroll when it was given to him, but my goodness, they nearly threw him off the cliff then, didn't they? I mean, it's not advised. You're religiously going to your worship service every week like Marsha was. Oh, gosh, every day. We had a morning study, a worship time, and it was very good, don't get me wrong, but there's more demons in the church than outside. I felt that at times. At other times I felt, it's wonderful to be in such saintly company. I love worship and singing, but we don't have record in the story of Jesus having a worship time. I think at one point it did said by John, they sang some sort of song or hymn and then went out. This was close to the, time just before the crucifixion, or all of that. Yeah, well, fair enough. But thank goodness, who knows, someone may have added this to the scripture afterwards. Well, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, is it? Thank you, Dad.